So you want to create your future, discover a path worth traveling down, find a career to get excited about. For decades, Career Tech has been training talented, skilled individuals, empowering them to step into a career that fuels not only their life, but the Oklahoma workforce. These individuals are the heartbeat of this state's economy. Individuals just like you. Create your future today at Oklahoma Career Tech.
Hello and welcome, football fans, to the Squirtle Paydirt Pick'em Show. I am your host, Andy Campbell. I'm looking forward to talking football with this panel of experts here in Week 1 in Oklahoma. Mark Rodgers and Jacob Diesselhorst are here, as well as two special guests. Layne Jones has been on the show many times before. Layne is a former coach and administrator around the state and now operates Squirrel sponsor HTO in the metro area and across the state of Oklahoma. Our next special guest is Aaron Kaulk, the voice of the Elk City Elks, as well as the host of the Skinny on Sports Radio show. We're going to discuss 8 network games. 2 of those will be games of the week. And then we're also going to discuss 4 of the best out-of-network games that we played in the state this week. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with a big 5A versus 6A2 matchup as the El Reno Indians will host the Piedmont Wildcats. Both teams got a win in week 0 a week ago. Mark Rodgers, who moves to 2-0 this week?
Great to see that you're back, Andy, to feeling a little bit better. Last week, we're a little worried about you, so you're looking good, and glad you're feeling better. I like El Reno a lot after their first week. Elijah Fisher, their quarterback, had a big game, but Piedmont's defense shut out Midwest City on the road, and they've moved up to Class 6A Division II, and it's a team that I think has a chance to make some noise in the playoffs in that group. So I'm going to go with the depth of Piedmont to beat El Reno this week. I think that the Indians are going to be pretty good in Class 5A, but I like Piedmont in this game.
Let's go to Layne.
Well, you didn't bring me here for my football knowledge. I think I'm here for the food. So I'm glad we're talking about this, because last year I got raked over the coals by people in Piedmont, even though, because the game was in Piedmont last year. I didn't say anything about the touchdown burger, because Mark made me look bad, and Tom did too. So you could get a touchdown burger to take it to El Reno, but why not just go to Sid's or Johnny's, right? I mean, you can't go wrong with either one of those. I like Pacina's as well, although I do like the Pacina's in Weatherford a little bit better. The menu's the same, but I don't know. I'm a little more partial to the Weatherford Pacina's. So that's where I'm going to eat, probably Pacina's. I got to go with Piedmont. I've seen when Jeff Hall's teams start out well, they usually tend to get better. And when you look back at some of his teams, especially the team that made the semifinals in his first year, they had a little bit of a slow start. One of the games was at Weatherford. I think Ethan Downs was a freshman or sophomore that year. And then they got on a roll and made it semifinals. I think Piedmont's got a really good squad this year. They're going to make a run in 6A2. So I've got the Wildcats.
Go to Aaron.
Yeah, I saw El Reno. They got a bunch of guys back from last year, but they don't have the running back Nicholson, and I think he makes a huge difference not being back there. The quarterback Fisher's electric, but Piedmont's defense was able to hold them to 6 points last year. I think it's much of the same. I think Piedmont ends up winning. It's probably a really good game, and I agree with Mark. I think El Reno, with what they've got back, it's kind of a scary team maybe later on in 5A, but not yet. I got Piedmont in this one.
Our lines maker, Jacob Diesselhorst.
Yeah, so with all the changes with 6A1 to 6A2, and then A breaking up into 2 separate leads, some of these teams are going to be hard to analyze early in the season for the odds maker. And Piedmont, yeah, like Mark said, they went on the road last week and won with defense. I think that was kind of a calling card for them last year, and a lot of their wins was controlling the line of scrimmage. Running that, Air Force wing T offense. Are they still running that offense? Probably. But going on the road to El Reno, this is a rivalry game, right? And El Reno's, no slouch. They won last week against Chickasha impressively. So I got Piedmont a 1.5 point favorite on the road. Piedmont won this game last year. And I'm going to take Piedmont to win this game 21-20 in a very tight game. And I only picked Piedmont for my friend Tim Sidness, the Piedmont resident.
Hall of Fame, Putnam City West.
Yeah, Putnam City West Hall of Fame.
Too, yeah.
Recent inductee.
And just a reminder, you can watch that matchup for free on Squirrel.tv or ElRenoIndians.tv. Our next game takes us to Class 2A, where the Stroud Tigers traveled to Chandler to take on the Lions. Both teams were off in week 0, but this is a matchup that Chandler won easily 26-6 a year ago. Mark, what should we be watching for in this game?
I think Chandler is going to be pretty good. Stroud is a definite title contender in Class A Division II. And the Lincoln County War is one of the longest running rivalries in the state. So it's a big game. Stroud is good, but they're stepping up in class quite a bit to take on Chandler. So I'm going to go with the Lions over the Tigers in one of the state's great rivalries.
Layne.
I'm going to agree with Mark on this. I'll take Chandler. Food-wise, I haven't been there, but I've read quite a bit, and I've heard some people talk about destinations. So that's my spot. Go to Chandler, go eat at destinations, and Lions will get a victory.
Aaron.
Yeah, same. Both teams season openers. I think Chandler just dominated last year. They got McGinnis, the running back, the transfer. Watch out for him. But yeah, I think it's Chandler. It's too big a step up for Stroud.
Jacob.
I got Chandler an 8.5-point favorite in this game. Stroud had a good season last year, made the playoffs, were, in a lot of the games they played. But I just think Chandler at home, they're a top 10 team, even though Stroud's sitting pretty at number 2 in 2A2. We have to get used to this. I got Chandler an 8-point favorite at home, and I got Chandler winning the game 28-21.
Pick'em game number 3. Alva had a tough week 0 matchup with Fairview last week and dropped that game 35-7. The Goldbugs look to rebound on the road this week at Perry, who had a big 52-12 win over Manford a week ago. Mark, Alva at Perry.
Well, if it was a spelling bee, I'd definitely take Perry. But I will take Perry in the football game as well. Jackson Cunningham had 4 touchdown passes last week. Wheelan Carson caught 4 of those. So I think Perry's pretty good this year. Alva's also good. Alva will have a chance to bounce back after this tough early season schedule. Fairview is a juggernaut, won their 31st game in a row. So it's no disrespect that Alva lost that game. I think this is going to be really close, but I think Perry wins it at Danielsfield.
Layne.
Well, I got to give a shout out to my cousin, Ryan Wilson. He's in his first year as head football coach at Alva. And I'm going to pick Alva to win it. Like Mark said it best about Fairview. Not too many people are going to knock Fairview off. It's a tough time to pick them up, especially in your first game of the year. So I've got Alva going to Perry and winning that game. John Hardaway is all about the comeback cafe. I thought it was okay. I'm going to mariachi.
Uh-oh.
Mark Cafe, I mean, everything is homemade, the pies, the biscuits, the chicken fried steak, and it's been open 99 years. I don't know. I mean, I can't take this disrespect. That place is excellent. Layne,
okay.
I'm disappointed.
I respect your opinion.
Aaron, get us back on track here.
I got way too many buddies at Alva that I go see every year at the Nescatunga Golf Tournament to pick against the Goldbugs, and just their history of excellence is what has to take the cake. I think Alva wins a very close one against Perry.
Jacob.
Yeah, so Alva, I hear is really good at spelling these days, but Perry, Alva, doesn't this just ignite excitement in everyone to watch these two teams play? You got Alva, 2A2, number 8 ranked team, coming off a shellacking by Fairview. Get used to hearing that. There's gonna be a lot of Fairview victories this year, although they got a tough one this week. But I'm getting off topic here. Perry at home, I associate Perry with wrestling with Perry. I always have. And I feel like when you go play a football game at Perry, it's kind of like going and being in a wrestling 11-on-11 wrestling match. And I think that gives Perry an advantage. Although I do think Alva, is a playoff team. I think Perry is going to win this week. I got Perry a 7-point favorite, and I have them winning the game 20-14.
World.tv or PerryMaroons.tv to watch that matchup. We talked about Fairview a little bit already, so let's go ahead and talk about their game. They had the big win at Alva last week. Jackets have a 4-hour road trip to Kingston to face the Redskins this week. Kingston also 1-0 on the season after a 35-7 win over Medill in week 0. Mark, does Fairview get it done on the road again this week?
Yeah, I'm not going against Fairview. Jax Bernard is underrated when it comes to his ability as a college quarterback. He's small, but his arm talent is elite. He can throw the football to all areas of the field. And really more than anything, I'm impressed with the way that Fairview plays defense. And they held a good Alva team to 7 points last week. Not a lot of big guys on that team, but a lot of ferocious tacklers. So Coach Bernard does a great job. Kingston's good. And I like the fact that I think teams have figured out, hey, we're going to maybe go on the road in the playoffs in the third round and have a long bus ride, and we need to simulate that. So I think that this is a good way to do it. So I applaud scheduling of the game, and it'll work the same way for Kingston because they've got a team that can go far into the playoffs in the next couple of years. That domination that they had in the Marshall County Super Bowls is impressive because Medill's a 4A team. And not many teams step up 2 classes and put a whipping on their opponent like that. So it'll be a good game and a good way to compare Alva and Kingston. But I would say this is going to be another Yellow Jacket victory.
Layne.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, Fairview, they're the team to beat until somebody beats them. You know, and that's nothing's going to change this year. Food wise, and just for the record, I don't dislike Comeback Cafe. I have to make sure the people of Perry understand that and know that. So my food choice for Kingston is going to be BG's Catch. The last time I was there, it was all you can eat catfish. I walked out of there sick as a dog because I ate so much food, and I swore off catfish until 2 days later when I went back. So BG's Catch for the win.
Aaron.
Yeah, 31 in a row for Fairview. It's a long bus ride, and I think it's a great point of making that trip just to get used to maybe having to do that. But Bernard is awesome. Fairview has just been so good with Coach Bernard, his son there. I think Kingston returns a bunch of guys, like 17 starters, but until somebody beats Fairview, I'm not going to pick against them.
Jacob.
Yes, Fairview, 31 wins in a row. Pretty much every night they're going to have the best player on the field under center again. I feel like that kid gets better every game. And I mean, he's been doing that since he was a freshman. And what a luxury it is to have, basically like having a coach on the field when you're a head coach and your son quarterback tandem. It's a big advantage for Fairview. Now, that's why they're the favorite to win their third straight state championship. As an alumni, makes us kind of proud. But this is not going to be an easy football game. They got a long bus ride down to Kingston to play a top 10 team in 2A1, a team that's coming off in a really impressive win week 0 against Medill, 35-7, which is an identical score to Fairview's game. Kind of ironic. So, I mean, I expect this to be a really tough game. With that said, I got Fairview a 13-point favorite on the road, and I got Fairview winning the game 40-20.
It's time to enjoy the sweet taste of Brahms Strawberry Shortcake Sundae. Our creamy vanilla ice cream is nestled on top of Brahms fresh-baked golden bundt cakes, with spoonfuls of delicious strawberry topping all around, complete with fluffy whipped cream and a cherry, to create the perfect flavor combination. Strawberry goodness is waiting for you at Brahms.
Let's stay in Class A. Cashin Wildcats had an impressive win in week 0, defeating the Hennessy Eagles 29-26. Cashin trailed 23-0 in that game before storming back in the second half on the road. Cashin travels again this week to Velma Alma to take on the Comets, who did not play in week 0. Mark, tell us about this matchup.
This is a tough game to pick. I could not confirm reports that Lynn Shackelford ordered the team to take down the Rough Rider statue in Hennessy and put it on the bus and take it back to Cashin. I'm sure that sounds like something he would want to do. But Velma has 30 players out. They're moving up from Class B, where they played in the state championship game last year against Sealing. Slade Strickland is a great quarterback for them that can do a lot of things all around. This is a really good matchup. I think it was a great win for Cashin last week to beat Hennessy in a rivalry that hadn't been played in a while. This is a tough one for me. I'm going to go with Cashin in a close one.
Layne.
Yeah, I've got to go with Cashin as well. I think that coaching staff, Cashin's going to have them ready to go. In this type of year, you can, in weeks 0 and week 1, coaching can come in and play a factor. I think Lynn Shackelford's one of the best coaches around. Food wise, I'm not super familiar with anything in Velma Alma, so I had to get online and do some research, and I'm reading some things about a place called Chuck Wagon Barbecue and Grill. So got me at barbecue. So I think that's where I would go to eat.
Aaron.
Yeah, it's interesting for Velma, right? Coming up from 8-man to 11-man. How do they find enough guys to be on the line? I'm sure the skill guys, as Mark said, Strickland, the quarterback, they'll be fine there. But how do they have enough guys to have enough depth on the lines of scrimmage? Cashin's trying to kind of get back to what they were a few years back with Coach Shackelford. I think the coaching matchup and just the familiarity of playing 11-man football helps Cashin in this early season matchup. So I think I've got the Wildcats close, though, and I think Velma will be pretty good by the time it's all said and done.
Jacob.
This was a really hard game to try to put a line on. I mean, you got Velma Alma, the defending Class B state runner-up team, moving up from 8-man to 11-man. If they had 3 extra players, why didn't they just play 11-man last year? I never understood that. But Cashin, a big time win by Coach Shack last week, coming from behind. I remember checking the score at some point pretty early in the game and seeing that they were behind and thinking, in trouble. And then I looked up and saw they came back and won the game. So I think Cashin's going to have a lot better squad this year. Again, really hard game to put a line on. Actually, I had to go deep into my investigative talents by talking to Adam about it. I'm going to call Adam out here. So, and with Adam's analysis, I was able to put Cashin as a 6.5 point favorite with at home, what I expect to be a close football game. I think Velma Alma is probably up for the challenge of 11-man, but I think Cashin wins this game 30-27.
Be sure to tune into squirrel.tv or cashinwildcats.tv to watch this matchup. Hey, by the way, big shout out to Chad Tishner and Coach Hardaway for calling that game last week in Hennessy. They did a great job. It was really fun to watch that broadcast. All right, picking game number 6. Let's talk some 8-man football. Winoka will travel to Blaine County to take on the Okeen Whippets. Both teams 0-1 after week 0 losses. We don't have our 8-man expert, Tom Nelson, on this week. He's traveling out of town. So, Mark, you're going to have to cover who rebounds, who gets the win this week in Okeen.
The Whippets are not 0-1. They are 1-0. Winoka lost last week, but they lost to a really good Cub Dug team that I think will make a lot of noise in Class B. So,
my apologies to Okeen Whippets. Poor research on behalf of the host.
That's fine. You were on your deathbed last week, and you still showed to produce for the show. Tonight, you had an internet glitch in which we all thought you were dead. So, it's okay. People of Okeen will forgive you. And the people of Okeen, I think, will be happy after this one. Winoka will bounce back and be a good team in the Class C playoffs this year, but I think Okeen will take the victory.
Layne.
Well, this is the most exciting food pick for me because I'm going to Winoka to get food first, and then I'm driving the 60 miles back to Okeen. Because if I'm within 75 miles of Cafe Bonhoff, I'm having Dieter Dorner cook a Rom Schnitzel with fried potatoes, cabbage, a pretzel, the whole 9 yards, and I'm doubling that up. I'm getting one to go. So Cafe Bonhoff in Winoka, I just can't. That's my joint right there. But football wise, yeah, I think Okeen wins this game. There's these teams, and Jake was just mentioning this a few minutes ago. When you talk about the jump from 8-man to 11-man and back to 8-man and back and forth, Cashin did that. Morrison did that. Velma Alma's done that. O'Keen's done that. And O'Keen still has they've got those farm kids. Those kids they're going to put on shoulder pads and helmet, and they're going to come hit you. So I got the Whippets.
Aaron Schnitzel sounds like something that would happen to the United States in the Ryder Cup. That'd be a good headline.
Yeah, O'Keen. They started out with just the clobbering of Alec last week, 56-0. And Winoka played a much better team, obviously, in Covington Douglas. But with what O'Keen has back, quarterback, running back, give me the Whippets to win this one.
Jacob.
O'Keen's got some of the best baby blue, some of the best colors in high school football in Oklahoma. I have to admit that, even though O'Keen was never one of my favorite places to drive through unless I was at the rattlesnake party. I was really shocked to see Winoka lose 40-6 to Cov Dug last week. That was kind of a surprising score. I know Covington Douglas is no slouch, but Winoka has been a pretty good team the last few years. So I'm looking at O'Keen as a heavy favorite here. It's 8-man, so I'm doing numbers of 8s instead of 7s and 6s, which is confusing. But I got O'Keen a 26.5 point favorite in this game, and I have them winning the game 48-16.
O'Keen, of course, a new network school, so we're very lucky and glad to have O'Keen Whippets. So tune into OkeenWhippets.tv to watch that matchup with the undefeated O'Keen Whippets, 1-0, looking to move to 2-0 on the season. All right, let's talk about our 2 Squirtle games of the week. Our first one, as we go to Class 2A, Jones is 1-0 after a 51-6 win over Luther a week ago. The Longhorns will travel to Kiefer to take on the Trojans, who did not play in week 0. Mark, you and Adam on the call for this game, is that correct?
That's right. I'm looking forward to this. Be the first time I've been to Kiefer for a game. And this should be a really good one. You've got Asen Hansen. He had a big-time game last week. His dad, Dusty, of course, everybody knows, played baseball at OU. They got Carlos Hardiman, who had over 600 yards of total offense in one game last year for Klassen, who's moved in and is playing wide receiver there at Jones. Both of these teams have huge offensive lines, across the board. Kiefer, of course, is coming off that stunning semifinal loss last year to Millwood when Jaden Mickens returned a kick with 12 seconds left in the game. So Kiefer is a suburb of Tulsa that's growing exponentially. They're good in a lot of sports. They're really well coached by Trent Worley. I'm going to take Jones in this game, but I think it'll be close. And I think Kiefer and Jones are 2 programs that are very similar spots in the respective metro areas that are going to be forces to deal with for a long time.
Layne.
A very underrated place to eat on Highway 75, just a little bit back east of Kiefer and Glenpool, Mamadou's. The last time I went, I had the ribeye, and I told myself the next time I go, I'm going to get the prime rib. Great spot, 10, 15-minute drive away from Kiefer. Go to Mamadou's. Anybody been there?
Important. We need a place.
Okay, that's it. That's your spot right there. Football wise, I might
go to Brahms or Arby's instead, based on your opinion of the Comeback Cafe. And so, since Brahms is the new sponsor, I'll guarantee you a chocolate shake and a cheeseburger with the crinkle cut fries would hit the spot. So that's a safe call for sure.
Well, I mean, I knew I was going to get raked over the coals on that one too. I just didn't know it was going to come so quick.
You're an expert. I mean, when you have a bad opinion like that, we have to call you out.
Layne's having a rough start to the show, like Florida State's football season. I mean, it's going way downhill for Layne quickly.
I think I let John Hardaway get in the way of my opinion, because he constantly talks about going to the Comeback Cafe, and I went. It's good. It's really good, but I expect, I don't know, Hardaway. Instead of, like, why don't you undersell and overperform, right? Isn't that the name of the game? Yeah.
I had the Comeback Cafe just Saturday, and it was incredible. It was unbelievably good. So I mean, they're still doing great.
Okay, well, we'll give Mamadou's a chance, because that place is legit. I love that place. And it's
The
well
Score
worth
credit card has $100 max on it. So can we stay under that?
2 steaks. They're $28 each. You'll be
And
good.
we're in. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, solid. So, and I'm going with your football pick too. I'm not betting against Jones. Not going to do it. I think they're just traditionally too strong. I know Kiefer had that good run last year, and probably, they win that game, but they probably are the state champions. I mean, but Jones is Jones, and kind of like O'Keene, they're always going to have dogs. Whether they're 500 or whether they're a 10-win team. So I'll take Jones in this matchup.
Aaron.
Yeah, if there's a team in Oklahoma that cannot wait to play a football game, it's got to be Kiefer. With the way that season ended, you're already thinking about playing in the state title game, and then those dreams are just ripped from you. They got one of the cool Titus Bell, and that's an awesome name for their linebacker. Give me Kiefer. I just think that they're probably one of those teams that got to be on a mission after what happened last year, and this would be a heck of a way to start it against a team in Jones that's always really, really good. But Kiefer, I think the football gods owe him one.
Jacob.
Yeah, Kiefer has seemed like where it's located there, like it should be. It's located prime real estate to be a good athletic school. Outskirts of Tulsa. And what I hear, they're on the come up. But my understanding is that Jones has another quarterback, the Hansen kid. I think he's a junior this year. They're expecting big things out of him. They got the Hardeman kid, who's I know is a stud on offense and defense. Then they got that monster tight end. What's his name? Riley Ellison. Sorry, Riley.
You got it.
6'6", 225. Senior tight end for Jones. I mean, that sounds like trouble.
6'7", 235.
That's a monster. And I hear he's not a bad defensive end either. So Kiefer might be on the come up, but this week they're hosting a Oklahoma football powerhouse in Jones. And I got Jones going into Kiefer as a 14-point favorite. And I have them win the game 41-21.
Well, tune into Squirrel.tv to watch Mark Rodgers and Adam Diesselhorst on the call for that game of the week. Now let's talk about our second Squirrel game of the week. The Sulphur Bulldogs had a good 2023 campaign, finishing 8-4 overall, with one of those losses coming to their week 1 foe, the Washington Warriors. Washington obviously been a 2A powerhouse for years now and looked very impressive last week with a 46-3 win over Community Christian. Mark, give us a preview.
Man, I don't want to pick this game. So Washington, 31 wins in a row. They're on the same streak that Fairview's on. Their scrimmage against Tuttle, they did a great job on defense of holding Tuttle, who's got a 4A championship contending team. Sulphur had a couple move-ins this year, and it's a team that a lot of coaches told me in the preseason can unseat Lincoln or Heritage Hall in Class 3A, potentially win it for the private schools. And we all know what kind of battle we've got going in that classification between the public schools and the private schools. I wouldn't be surprised with either result in this game. I would love to see it. I will try to watch it back after Adam and I do the game in Kiefer on Friday night. I'm going to go with Washington. They're loaded. I think that they're good enough to compete in classes bigger than Class 2A. So give me the Warriors, but I think it'll be close. Wouldn't be surprised if the Bulldogs won.
The Washington Squirtle crew will be calling this game for us on the game of the week. TJ, Kyle, Stewart, Xander, Emma do a fantastic job over at Washington. So looking forward to watching this one on Squirrel.tv. Layne, let's go to you.
Yeah, I want to take Washington in this. I think the last 2 times I picked Washington, I've been on the wrong end of it. But they're going to win. It's a home game. The food pick, Mark, last year, whatever Washington game we had at Washington, I sent myself to Norman to get something to eat, and you corrected me. You steered me the right direction. What was the place in Washington you said?
Libby's in Goldsby.
In Goldsby, that's right. Okay. Libby's in Goldsby. Okay.
One of Coach Schwitzer's favorite places to go. So you can have the catfish, you can have the chicken fried steak, you can have the ribeye. They have cold beer. It's really good.
Okay. I'm deferring my food pick to you, and I'm taking notes. Libby's in Goldsby. I haven't been there. Putting it on my list.
Go to Aaron.
Yeah, Libby's is good. We were lucky enough to go to the basketball tournament at Washington last year and found that place, kind of stumbled upon it. It was fantastic. Game wise, Washington, they're just like Fairview. It's until they lose, it's hard to pick against them. But man, Sulphur's got a lot of dudes back off a team that was not 9-4 last year. Quarterback, running back, linebacker, and Garrett. I think it's going to be a defensive game. Washington's defense maybe a little bit ahead of the offense, I guess, with 7 guys off of the offense that left after last year, but they still got Roberts the tight end. I think Washington wins, but I think it's a really, really close game.
Jacob.
Yeah, Sulphur's hadn't played a game yet, but they're ranked in the top 10 in 3A. Washington, again, year in, year out, is one of the top teams, the top team in Class 2A. And smashed Community Christian last week, 46-3, right? I don't see this as a close game. I got Washington a 14-point favorite at home, 14 and a half point favorite at home, and I got them winning the game 42-20.
This could be the first exposure that Jake has to the Murray County mob here, as those couple people are taking a 14 and a half, and so his massive exposure. It's going to be really bad. He might have to sell his Posse Club membership to someone else.
No offense to Sulphur. I mean, this is not a slight to Sulphur. They're a good football team. Washington's a well-oiled machine, and they won 35-10 last year at Sulphur. And I understand that these are two different teams, different rosters, but I just think Washington's going to pull away in this one.
I like you set a hook. You set a hook with this one. You don't need it.
In our business and at our firm, it's all about preparation, preparation, preparation. We are advocates for our client. We speak for them. So as a part of that advocacy, it involves hiring the best experts. It's doing the legal research. It's doing the medical research. That is advocacy behind the scenes. It's not just the bells and whistles in front of the jury.
All right, guys, those were our 8 network games that you'll be able to watch for free on squirrel.tv. We're now going to quickly discuss 4 non-network games. So won't be able to watch these on Squirrel, but these are great matchups that deserve some discussion on our show tonight. So our panelists will feel free to say as much or as little as you guys want to about these matchups. Owasso at Jinx. So it started off, Mark.
Wow, what an upset by Owasso last week. So 74 out of 75 coming in for Bixby, only their second loss in 76 games. I liked Owasso a lot going into the year, but of the Big Four in Tulsa, they were the only ones that didn't have an experienced quarterback. They have a really good core. Their junior class is amazing. And of course, there was a transition in coaching from Coach Blankenship to Antonio Graham. Coach Graham's doing a great job. Owasso is good. And I think that these 4 teams are going to be really interesting to watch as the season goes along. Jinx had 2 Division I linemen move in the offseason. They had 2 Division I receivers, twins move in from Lincoln Christian. They have Kewan Jones' son at running back. They also have Owen Jones at quarterback, who started at BA and is now starting his second season at Jinx. They're loaded. I mean, this Jinx team is incredible. I don't think that Bixby is out of things yet, but I got Jinx in this game against Owasso. I would definitely move Owasso up if they're able to knock off Bixby and Jinx in back-to-back weeks. That'd be an incredible start for Antonio, but I think Jinx wins this one.
Layne.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jinx too. They've got a lot of Division I talent on that football team. A lot of good food talent in the area as well. If you're not going to go the Brothers Hooligan over at 51st and Yale, then swing over to the Riverwalk. Hit Burnco, one of the best barbecue places in Tulsa. Andolini's on the Riverwalk as well. I like the original best downtown. But Andolini's on the Riverwalk is awesome. So you can't go wrong with any of those food choices.
Aaron.
Yeah, I would feel better about picking Owasso if they didn't beat Bixby last week. But coming off of that win, the talent that Jinx has, maybe returning only 2 offensive linemen gets in their way, whereas Owasso's got all those linemen back. But I think it's a really hard ask to beat Bixby and Jinx back-to-back weeks, so I'll take Jinx.
Jacob.
Yeah, Bixby getting beat by 2 touchdowns. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. Owasso's, Tay Bethel had 3 touchdowns out there at wide receiver. Coach Montanati told me that if I picked against Owasso this week that, he was going to disown me. And I'll probably see him in the club level Saturday for OSU Arkansas. So no, actually probably not, because they'll probably be watching AAU ball. But man, I agree with you guys. Hard game to pick. Owasso coming off that huge win, and now they're playing Jinx. I got this a pick 'em, and I'm taking Jinx to win the game, 28-27.
I got a question real quick that's away from football. Would Montanati be favored against any of the Deese brothers in a 3-point shooting contest?
Are you talking about little Montanati or dad?
I'm talking about Brian.
I'm going to say no, Brian.
That's what I thought the answer
Brian
was.
would disagree, but Brian was.
Yeah. I understand he might be upset with you for saying that, but you got to back up the family. So,
yeah, look, Brian was not known for his 3-point shooting. He did about everything else right. He owned the glass, ran the floor.
Yeah, in a rebounding contest, we have a favorite. I'm just saying, as in a 3-point shooting contest, I would think that you guys might hold up well.
I would take his son over all 4 of us combined, I think. But at this point, he's on the USA team. But shout out to Coach Montanati.
He's good. Gatorade Player of the Year.
Second non-network game, Lincoln Christian at Heritage Hall. Mark, kick us off.
Man, Heritage Hall's got some good young players coming up, but Lincoln Christian is like an army. They've got a ton of kids out for football. They were my favorite in Class 3A at the beginning of the season. I think Heritage Hall is replacing some players. Got a couple of quarterbacks that I think will play in the game on Friday night. So I'm going to go Lincoln, but I think these 2 teams will have a lot to say later on in the year about who's playing for the state championship.
Layne.
I'm going to go with Heritage Hall and the home team in this. So I'm going against Mark's pick right there. Food-wise, I know everybody says they have the best pizza in town, but Datto's Pizza at Hefner and May is the best pizza in town. I'm just telling you right now, and there's a lot of good pizza in this town. Datto's, that's where the spot is.
Aaron.
Lincoln now, and maybe Heritage Hall later. I think Heritage Hall still has just a few of the young guys that need to get their good seasoning throughout the year, but I absolutely could see this being a state title game in the second week of December. I'll take Lincoln now, but I would probably maybe lean the other way if they do meet again later on down the line.
Lincoln Christian at Heritage, Jacob.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Christian, if you put up power rankings right now in the state by all classes, I think Lincoln Christian would be in the top 10. They got all these seniors coming back. Torres, Cruz, Nail, Milligan. They're loaded. Luke McCants. They are loaded with seniors coming back from a undefeated state championship team who rolled Heritage Hall 48-28 in the title game last year. I think Heritage Hall might still be licking their wounds from that game. Heritage Hall always shows up at home, got a big-time home field advantage, but I think a steamroller's coming into town. I got Lincoln Christian an 8-point favorite at Heritage Hall, and I got them winning the game 34-24.
Deer Creek with a big win last week. They traveled to Edmond Memorial this week. Mark?
Man, this is a tough one. I think Edmond 35-zip over Del City. That was an impressive performance. Deer Creek was a big winner over McGinnis. McGinnis is really rebuilding, and they lost a lot of kids to transfer. I wouldn't be surprised to see Edmond win this game. Kind of curious as to what the line might be on it. I'm going to go with Deer Creek. because I thought that Deer Creek was one of the big four on this side of the state, with Santa Fe and Mustang as well as Norman North. But Santa Fe got crushed at Jinx last week, and I think that has maybe a little bit more to do with Jinx. And so I might put Edmond in that group to be the best team on the west side of the state. So this is a huge game. I think this is a big one, but I'm going to go with Deer Creek in a close one. This has been a good series the last few years, but Deer Creek's won most of these games.
LJ.
All of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Edmond Memorial. It's in my time in Piedmont, we've been here 11 years now, and when we first moved here, the big rivalry was Piedmont Deer Creek, and so you could never pick Deer Creek. And as Deer Creek's grown, Piedmont's natural rival became El Reno, which is a big matchup this week. But I think the bigger Piedmont gets, that rivalry may come back eventually when Piedmont moves up into 6A. So as a Piedmont person, I have a hard time picking Deer Creek. So my heart says one, my brain says the other. So I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to go with Edmond Memorial. Food wise, I'm going to run over the Second and Coltrane just up the road, and I'm going to go to Eddie's and get some wings.
Great pizza rolls at Eddie's too.
Yes. Aaron.
Memorial won this game 34-31 last year. David McComb, the KU commit, threw for almost 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. Probably just a little bit of an upset for Memorial to beat Deer Creek. I think I'll take Memorial.
Jacob.
That was a really good football game last year. Dave McCombs took that game over in the fourth quarter. And this matchup you guys are right. This is a awesome matchup. I mean, you got crosstown rivals, 2 D1 stud quarterbacks, McCombs. You got Grady Adamson, Mason Smith. That might be the best quarterback wide receiver combination. I put them up against anybody in the state. Those two have synergy. Jalen Davis, the new running back at Deer Creek. Watch out for this kid. I'm telling you right now, he's D1 talent. Brady Brewer might have 20 tackles in this game. You might have 10 at halftime for Deer Creek. Undersized rover linebacker for them. This is going to be a fun. I got Edmond Memorial a 3.5-point favorite at home, but I am not picking against my Deer Creek Antlers or my daughter senior Hannah Diesselhorst, and my nephew who's on the Deer Creek football team. We'll probably see some time at wide receiver in this game. Cole Dieselhorst, so I got to pick Deer Creek. Deer Creek's going to go into Edmond Memorial and win 34-30, return the favor from last year.
Yeah, my bad. 34-31 last year. I didn't mean to disrespect Edmond. They won that game a year ago, so I was wrong on that stat. So this will be a really good game.
Last non-network game. Let's go to 8-man football. Sealing at Laverne. Big time matchup there. Mark?
All right, I got to say that appreciate Skinny, who keeps Jim informed of all things via text message, but he is a person that could take out the sports animal in a second, because Traber is like Burgundy. Anything you send him via text, he cold reads. So Skinny, please use discretion when sending Jim texts, because it could all be over very quickly. You can't trust the dump button on some of those. But you guys got a great show in Elk City, so I always love hanging out with you guys when I get the chance.
Thank you.
I would say this is going to be really close. Felix Steele is back after injury for Laverne this year. Sealing is rebuilding a little bit with the loss of Caden Manuel. Rush Hunt is a really good player for them. Al Hunt's son, who won a national championship at Northwestern. Great game, great 8-man matchup. I'm going to go with Laverne in this one. Close game.
Layne.
There was a stretch right there. Northwest Oklahoma completely dominated in 8-man football. Pioneer, Garber, Covduck, Winoka, Dikla, Sealing, Laverne. They all, running through that whole stretch of teams that were absolutely all over it. And this is 2 of them that were in the middle of it. And Sealing, that run that they had, there's a lot of tradition. And I know some of the kids, parents, some of the kids are playing for Sealing, whose parents played on some of these successful Sealing teams. But I'm going with Laverne, going with the Tigers, the Russ Rundle Tigers is what I still call him. I don't know why he's been out of Laverne for years and years. But in Fairview, you guys used to get a little bit of that too in some scrimmages, I think, when Laverne would come to town. But yeah, I'm going to go with Laverne. And the thing is, I can't help on the eating place. I know there's a place called the Hitchin Post. I've read a little bit about and heard people talk about, but I'm gonna have to leave it up to the locals to figure that one out and give us some advice.
You go to Baumhof's on the way to Laverne.
Well, yeah, I mean I can, but that'd be 2 Bonhoff. Well, I'm in on that. I'll do 2 Bonhoff trips in one day.
Can you get enough Rahm I don't know. I think the answer is probably no.
You cannot get enough Rahm.
Aaron, let's go to you.
I got Ceiling. They lost some skill. Obviously, Manuel was awesome.
Oh no!
But they do have linemen returning, and that's kind of the name of the game, right? You block somebody and you can make some plays. Defending Class B state champs, Laverne has dropped off just a tick from back-to-back titles a couple of years ago. They do get Teal back. Wyatt Tiller, the quarterback, is good too. But I think I'm going to stay with Ceiling and the role that they've been on.
Jacob.
I mentioned Deer Creek. I mentioned my daughter Hannah, soccer player, my nephew Cole. I've been getting big trouble if I don't mention the best cheerleader in the state, Katie Diesselhorst for Deer Creek. So I got to give Katie Grace some love. Expect to see her cheering D1 next year too. And Deer Creek's going to win this football game Friday night, and that's going to be the best place to be. Probably the best games in the state. A lot of good games this week though. Always exciting. Oklahoma football's here. Oklahoma high school football's here. And it even cooled off a little bit for us, guys, just in time, right? Having to have some nice nights. I went to both Flaming Lips shows, by the way, at the zoo. Did anybody else pull that off? I was there both nights. I was there for both shows. And, like I said, the Flaming Lips just bring out the good vibe from OKC. I hung out with the mayor for a while. He proclaimed this past Labor Day weekend, Flaming Lips, Labor Day weekend. And anyway, it was awesome.
Do you remember remember when they used to play down on the Strip for free back in the late 90s, early aughts? Okay.
Hey man, Wayne's up there. He's 63, and he hadn't lost a beat. He hadn't lost a bit. I mean, they played Yoshimi Battles of Peak Robots Friday night. They played Soft Bulletin Saturday night, and then they had their encores. And let's just put it this way: it got a little crazy. And by the way, Laverne and Ceiling are playing. Ceiling's going to win. Ceiling's going to win this game, but it's going to be close. It's going to be like 56-50.
Hey, failed to mention earlier, Doug Nelson, Whit Carter, they both help out with Squirtle. They're going to be on the call for that Lincoln Christian versus Heritage Hall game. So give them a listen if you're interested in that game. Ceiling also broadcasts their games on YouTube, Ceiling Wildcats TV. So if you want to check out that Ceiling at Laverne 8-man matchup, should be a great one. All right, that is all of our games that we're going to discuss tonight. Thank you for joining us on the Squirtle Paydirt Pick'em Show, sponsored by Maples, Nixon, Diesselhorst Law Firm. Be sure to tune in to squirrel.tv or the specific school websites, and you can watch all these games we just discussed, the network games, for free, or you can also watch Squirtle Paydirt. We'll be back next week with new guests. Aaron, Layne, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys having you guys on, and we'll be back with 8 more games